Hey guys, what's up, Mustangs? Boo Guy X, I'm back to Forza Horizon 3 for, I guess, kind of a stunt course build. It's not really a build, though, because these cars, such as this Ferrari 488, have been rated by Forza to the top of S1 class where I build my cars. And that got me thinking, if these cars are at the top of S1 class, how would they fare from standard using their just the modifications that A, Forza's given them in the form of Horizon Edition cars, or B, just from standard from the game's PI system? How would they fare against the cars that I have built? Because all of those cars have been built up from different classes. Some of them have started off S1 class, some of them in D class, with the Toyota Corolla, for example. So, I thought it'd be interesting to see how stock top of S1 class vehicles, such as the 488, the Lamborghini Huracan for Horizon Edition, V8 Supercar, how those would fare against my built cars. Now, when I was doing these cars, I started off with a 488, just because I was driving it already, and I was a little concerned when I went into it to, whether or not it would have the acceleration to rival some of these other cars that are like four-wheel drive or even rear-wheel drive with 1,000 horsepower, and it's not bad, 166 across the jump. And it's also not that good. However, what it does have is phenomenal turning. Some of these cars have been awful around the corners. Some of them are not. Like that was 166 miles an hour, 176 around the jump. It is a very, very good car. 488. And then it's about average through the, through that bit. And it just has such good brakes and turning and everything. It's wonderful. I did get the back end sliding out a little bit, but you can recover it because it had that grip. And most, like the Vantage had 1,000 horsepower rear-wheel drive, and that was just about controllable. This has 600 horsepower, but it's going almost as fast. 218 miles an hour down the straightaway. It's very, very good. And it is decent around the corners. I didn't push my luck there trying to go flat out. Probably could have let off a little bit, but yeah, it's average acceleration, great cornering, and deals with the jumps, sorry. Pretty well. I go 168 around there. 180 across the jump. That's, I think, one of the fastest we've ever seen, besides, I think, the, D-Type. I think the D-Type was faster around there. But yeah, the Ferrari is just ridiculously fast, and I absolutely love it. Of course, you can always get things wrong. As usual, you can always get things wrong on this course. And the next vehicle I wanted to use was the BMW M3 Horizon Edition from 1997. As a wide body kit, it has 700 horsepower, weighs 3,100 pounds, and let's just say it's not as easy to drive as the Ferrari. Is nowhere near as easy to drive. So, the wide body kit does give you bigger tires. However, yeah, it just doesn't really like this course. Also, by the way, I hate that. I hate that all the time, all day long. I hate it. I'm also exploring. I explore them all over now. That's a new place to go. I think I've gone there once with the Jaguar D-Type. But, yeah, I hate that. I will never understand why Forza's mechanics have that, but okay. Now, this is ridiculously fast around the, loop. It is one of the fastest vehicles I've ever had around the loop, besides, well, the classic racers. So, yeah, it was actually accelerating up the loop for a portion of it, which you've never seen a car do. You do have to be a little careful with the whole throttle control, but yeah, this lap, The first lap was kind of a learning experience with the car, really. And it is very fast in a straight line. It is very fast in a straight line. Almost 230 miles an hour in a straight line. Now, once you get the hang of it, it is a little easier to drive. It's all about throttle control. It's still not very easy to drive. I don't think it has big enough tires for Stunt 64 horsepower. But that's the bigger problem. That's the bigger problem right there. It just hates this half pipe section. I've had lots of cars bounce around in half pipes rather infuriatingly, but I've never had a car bounce around so much like this one. It is just awful. I don't fully understand why cars do that. I think it's just a glitch in the game mechanics, but it is not a nice car to drive. The Ferrari was a nice car to drive. It had 600 horsepower, but it had the control. This had no control. Fourth gear, it gets wheel spin. Not much, but it gets wheel spin in fourth gear if you're not too careful. And if you start wobbling around like that, you are in quite a bit of trouble. So, it took pretty much every single lap, but it's a good thing that I had this 5-lap thing, because it took all of them in order to get this car to work. And I just about got it stopped from the first corner. Yeah, it was not a nice car to drive. Now, the next Horizon Edition that I did, is a similar one, a C63 Horizon Edition, 804 horsepower, rear-wheel drive. However, this one does weigh almost 2 tons. And so that gives it a bit more control. It has a bit more weight on it, so it doesn't spin the wheels up too much. It's a bit more like the Ferrari. Unlike the BMW, which was a lunatic wheel spin death machine. I just love those pipes. I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, unlike the BMW, which is a lunatic wheel spin death machine that wanted to kill you, this is more like the Ferrari, but just with more power and bigger tires. So that is nice, and it's still really, really fast in a straight line. That's a common theme I've seen with the Horizon Edition cars. The Horizon Edition cars tend to be very powerful and have ridiculous top-end speed. Because they don't have any aero parts on them, as you can see when I pan the camera around. They don't have any Forza aero on them, which makes them more difficult to drive, but it gives you a fair bit more speed. You see, we're going almost 230 miles an hour before you have to slam on the brakes. And I wanted to brakes this out a little bit earlier than I did with the BMW, because the BMW was lighter. And I was going the same speed. So you want to brake a little bit earlier. However, it is much faster across the boost, like heading up to the jump. It's a couple miles an hour faster. Now you do have to let off. With the rear-wheel drive cars, you have to let off on the landing of that jump. Simply because then you don't get wheel spin and start bouncing, like what the BMW did. The BMW was a, suspension just hated that half-pipe section. This one is a little bit better. I didn't have it bounce at all during my run. So, that was nice. But, still, you know, rear-wheel drive, you can still easily lose the back end if you're not careful. You don't quite have wheel spin in fourth gear, but, yeah, it's still a tad on the difficult side of drive. It's still exponentially better than the BMW. So, it was really rather nice to drive. Now, of all the race cars in this game, the one I've used probably the most has been the V8 supercars. However, I've never used the Falcon, and this is also the top of S1 class. Now, I did not think this vehicle would do pretty well, because it is really god-awfully slow. However, it does have incredible turning. It is pretty much like the Tesla. it tops out at 160, 170 miles an hour. But it has amazing turning, and it can be flat out pretty much everywhere. So, I was expecting this to be very bottom of the table, because we are just rev limiting all the way up here. So, it is one of the slowest vehicles we've ever had in terms of straight line speed, going a measly 174 miles an hour. But these were tuned by FORZA, so I can't exactly change them, because that's the rules for this a little bit. It does have incredible brakes, incredible turning. It is a little slidey sometimes if you are in low gears and you want to floor it. You gotta be a little cautious. And the rails limiter has absolutely no idea what to do when you get above 174 from the boost pads. Luckily, it's actually faster than the Tesla. Not by much, but it's still a tiny bit faster. So, yeah, I expected the V8 supercar to struggle, quite convincingly struggle. And I mean, it's a great car. Racing with it is a ton of fun, and the driving and driving it around is very easy. Can be a little annoying sometimes just because you will constantly hear the rev limiter just bouncing off all the time. And hearing that rev just gets annoying after a while. Kind of like a car alarm almost, but a little bit nicer. Because of V8. But it loses value relatively quickly. So the V8 supercar did really rather struggle around the circuit. But you know, that's to be expected. It's a proper race car. It has tons of downforce. It has shorter gear ratios for tracks. It's not designed for this. But it is rather easy to control, except for that crossover section. I always seem to struggle over that crossover. Now, the last Horizon Edition car that I did was the Lamborghini Huracan. This is the last S1 class Horizon Edition car that I've done, that I had. And, well, I was thinking this one would not fare too well, unlike the C63, because, well, it's a stock engine. It's basically a stock Huracan with some racing tires on it. And that basically means you're racing a stock car, and stock cars tend not to do pretty well in the high PI starting vehicles, because I was debating about using this, but I didn't think I'd have a hope, because of the fact that it's so high in PI. It's like, it's already pretty close to the top of S1 class, before any upgrades on it, so yeah, I was curious on how Forza would be able to get this vehicle to maybe be good around this course, and it's really lacking the acceleration. Ironically, when a Lamborghini Huracan is lacking acceleration, but it's true, it just doesn't have the speed and acceleration of the other vehicles. I mean, it's not bad speed. 215 miles an hour is not shabby, but you don't have the acceleration to match it. You have the turning, but you don't have the acceleration out of those turns to match it. Because the C63 is doing 130 miles an hour, over 130 miles an hour, before we exit, on the exit of that first corner. This is doing 120. And this is four-wheel drive, the C63 was rear-wheel drive. So this should be faster. Yeah, it doesn't have as much horsepower, but you know, it's four-wheel drive. So, I mean, it's a lovely car. You see, I went flat out pretty much. I threw the half pipe, which is nice, and this area through here is very easy to go through. It's no real problems. We can carry 150 on the exit of it, thanks to the incredible turning and braking. You just can't hit the gas at all during there. I mean, I was carrying enough speed that I outbraked myself in at the crossover point, but that's not the main reason behind it. It's still a nice car. It's certainly easier to control than some of the other vehicles I've had to drive through here, but just doesn't seem to have the pace. The final vehicle is the Hot Wheels Mustang. This one has 660 horsepower, weighs 3,000 odd pounds, has the most spectacular scaffolding set for the rear wing in the history of humanity, and has a ridiculously big front splitter. So, it is properly crazy. It is a properly crazy little machine. However, it does continue on the tradition of, running this at microscopic too wide and recovering it only for the game to decide it should be respawned because it's outside the boundaries. I've always liked the Hot Wheels Mustang. Ever since I was introduced in Forza 6, it's just been a crazy thing. It's the only car in Forza. It has decals on the window, so it's useless to see out the back, pretty much. It has the most amazing of wings. It's rear-wheel drive. It's an American muscle car. It's pretty much the perfect vehicle. Now, you may have seen that it topped out at 195 miles an hour. That is a problem. Because, yeah, it's not exactly the fastest thing in a straight line, but this is how it is apparently how fast it is in real life. So, yeah, it does have phenomenal brakes. The brakes are phenomenal on this vehicle, as is the turning. It's an extreme track toy, the only muscle car in the extreme track toy category. And I was suspecting this would make it all this time to the corners, because I was expecting it to be rather low down the table, just because of the lack of straight line speed on the two main straightaways. I guess not the straightaways, I guess, but you know, these areas, so loops. We did reach almost 180 miles an hour after that jump. So it's a seriously good turning vehicle. It's all, if I was able to tune it, I would be blasting through the circuit, maybe into the top 3. But it's just doesn't have that speed, and I'm not allowed to tune it because it's a car made by Forza. So whatever Forza did to it is what it's stuck with. So that's a tad bit unfortunate, but we did that with all the other vehicles. I could have tuned them to make their gear ratios a little bit longer, make them a little bit faster. But I didn't, because I wanted to see how Forza's builds would fare. Yeah, it wasn't the best vehicle for this track, I will be honest, but, you know, considering it tops out with good 20-30 miles an hour slower than some other vehicles, it actually did relatively well. Now, on to the times. The C63 Horizon Edition was the fastest car of the day with a bloody fast time. It became second place. It had enough control and enough speed to go into second place. It's the only modern car in the top 3, which is usually dominated by the classic racers or hot rods, and it got into second place. That is absolutely phenomenal. I didn't do anything to that car, I just wanted a wheel spin, and it is now second place, so good showing on that. Next is 8th place with the Lamborghini Huracan. I didn't think that would do too well, but it was pretty solid. Pretty solid for a supercar going in the top 10. And speaking of the top 10, we have the BMW M3 Horizon Edition rounding out in 10th place. I was very impressed with that the Huracan beat the M3, because the M3 has more horsepower and weighs the same, but it was just lacking that control. And that is what that four-wheel drive system and good handling can get you. Enough control to beat all these other modified vehicles. A little bit further down the road is the Ferrari 488 GTB in a joint 11th place. That was the first tie on the circuit. I don't remember the time because I lose track of one car sometimes on the leaderboard, much less 5. So I don't remember the times or some of the vehicles that are around them, but yeah, that's the first tie we've ever had on this circuit, which is remarkable that's gone on for so long, because normally we have at least one tie. And then we had the Hot Wheels Mustang down in 17th place. again, it fared rather well considering how little speed it had. So I thought that was pretty impressive considering it made up all of its time to the corners. And finally, in very last place, 27th place, we find the V8 supercar. It had the grip, it just had absolutely no straight line speed, which led to its utter demise. But that is it for this episode of Forza Horizon. We'll be back with more